Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hello, hello, hello. It is I, Dr. Cynthia Dempsey. Welcome to All Things New. And I am so excited to continue talking with you about the importance of delegating, eliminating, and putting systems in place that will help you to focus on the fruition of whatever purpose, program, business, initiative, idea that God has entrusted to you for this time and season. Today, I want to share another personal account of the Lord really bringing me to a place where He told me that it was time for me to delegate and then to eliminate. The Lord allowed me to serve in a particular leadership role for a number of years. In the development of that role, I had several responsibilities. And God definitely gave me the supernatural grace to serve in that role. I was an instructor. He gave me curriculums, started conferences and programs that were annual, built on and continued to add on to the responsibilities. And he would send various people to walk alongside throughout that journey space. And the ministry was continuing to grow. Then there came a point when, after a certain number of years, it was clear that for me, I had reached a certain point where God was saying, you know, there is more, and you're doing too much here, and you're not focusing in on the things that I need you to focus in on. And I know a few episodes ago, I talked about having those moments where you are doing so much for everyone else or focused in on so many other areas that when it's time for you to focus on the projects and the assignments that God has specifically given to you, then you don't really have the energy, or the creativity isn't there, or you just feel like I have nothing else to pour out. So I will not forget. It was during, let's see. The Lord talked to me and he said, you have 1 year from the day that he talked to me to get everything in order. You need to have the people in place because you're shifting out of this position. So throughout the time frame, there were certain ones, especially in the years preceding, you know, when God spoke to me that message. There were those who were who had come alongside, and they were really serving in various areas. So I was, throughout that point, I was given responsibilities, given assignments, giving them the opportunity to grow in those roles while I was present, so that they would have, if they had questions, or I could help to speak into them in those moments. So I really love the Lord because he did that. He's the example setter. Jesus did that when he walked on the earth. He took, when he first came, you know, he spotted the different ones, and they came to him, those who were became part of the 12, and he met them where they were. He was their teacher. He mentored them. He gave them assignments. Sometimes they got it right. Many times they got it wrong, but he would explain to them the parts that they did well, and then he would explain to them the parts that they didn't do well and what they need to change and alter. And he lived it out in front of them in the prayer and in the hopes that they would grasp and capture and hang on to the truths that he was sharing with them about leadership, about being in ministry, about how you interact with other people. He taught them so many lessons as he walked with them. Then there came a point when he told them, I am not going to be here with you always. And this is what's going to happen. There were some who did not want to hear that and were like, no, we're not going to let it happen. But it had to happen. You know, it was in the plan of God. It was in the plan of God. So when you shift and transition out of a role, sometimes it has to happen for the growth and the development of others, for the expansion and the building up of the ministry, and for your progression. Just because you might leave a position, it doesn't mean that that is the end. In fact, that's only the beginning. Okay, we'll talk about that part maybe another day, but Jesus is the example setter. And then he said, and I'm going to send, when I leave, I'm going to send another who's going to help you, and he will empower you. He's like me, but he's the one who's going to be here after I leave. They waited. Jesus gave them all of those examples. He walked with them for a certain amount of time. They were given assignments and tasks, responsibilities while he was present with them. And then when he did leave, they had to wait, and Holy Spirit was there and came down. So the Lord told me, you know, you have a year to get everything in order, to get people, making sure that they are able to function in the roles that they're supposed to function in. So we went through a whole, I was really very, I tried to be strategic. I don't know, some of them will probably respond and let me know, but gave responsibilities, gave feedback, and I was very driven. I was like, come on, we have to do this, because I knew what God told me, and I obeyed him. Okay, so that's what we did. I gave a year notice, and then it was a shift. And now it's been, this is the second year, starting of the second year after the shift. And I feel so free and liberated. I feel excited. I feel invigorated, because I'm watching the people who God delegated and told me to delegate different responsibilities to. And I'm looking at them grow and develop and take whatever portion they were given, whatever responsibilities that they have embraced leadership over. And I'm looking at them and how it is becoming even more fruitful, and how it's multiplying and increasing in numbers, increasing in substance, increasing in the richness and the impact and the just the outreach. It's wonderful. So when we listen to the Lord, it's so important for us to listen to God, be obedient, do what he tells you. Some of you are waiting and holding on to things because your identity is so wrapped up in that position, in that role. And it's like you don't even know who you are without that role. It is my prayer that you will allow God to show you who he created you to be. You are not that role. So if you got fired from a position, let go, release, whatever it might be from something, don't end your life. Don't terminate your existence on planet Earth because a job was terminated. That does not mean that your purpose and your destiny is ended. I really want you to know that. The enemy's going to come and he's going to try to magnify certain things. But the word of God is true. God created you. You are fearfully and wonderfully made in his likeness and in his image. There is no deficit in God. The ability that you have to grow and to change and to try new areas and become proficient in other areas. There are no limits. We limit ourselves. Other people try to limit us, but with God, it's limitless. Your possibilities And maybe, God has the ability to take everything that the enemy intended for our evil and turn it around for our good and for his glory. One person that I like to oftentimes look at is if you look at Steve Jobs with Apple. Now, I had a Mac back when it was the old school Mac, and people used to talk about the people who use Macs and say they weren't really computers and all of that. And it was IBM. Those were the serious computer people. But I enjoyed the Mac because you could see it. They had the cute icons. You could click on it. You knew what it was. It was easy to use. But after Steve Jobs is his invention, his creation, his company, he gets voted out. After it starts developing, after it gets to a certain point, they have a board. He gets voted out of his own company. Did he stop? I am sure that it did have an impact on him in some ways, because who wouldn't feel like, what? I created this, and now you're going to put me out of my own company? Ludicrous, right? But he did not stop. Instead, what did he do? He took his energy and his attention, he focused on something else, and he started Pixar. Then, after that was established, the people realized back in Apple, we made a mistake, because he is the visionary. He is the one that God gave the vision to. So that's a word for you too. Let me tell you, it doesn't matter. Other people can come. They can try to move you out of your place. They can try to take the ideas. They can try to claim that it was theirs. But if God put it on the inside of you, you are the original. And no counterfeit is going to have the level of success, the level of virtue that God put inside of you. So that's a word to somebody. It doesn't matter. Do you see with his life? He was the one that God gave the vision to. He is the one that God put and downloaded this ingenuity into. And then he is the one who was the one that was able to attract others like him, who had similar mindsets, who had that type of creativity and foresight and visionary insight and direction. They were attracted, and they were the ones they're creating. And then when others decided, well, we're going to just take him out of here, and we're going to push him out, they were able to, for a while, ride off of still the successes that he had generated. That's a part of fruit. When we are producing, our fruit remains. When it's good fruit and it's of the Lord, it's going to remain, and it is going to increase. And other people are going to come along, and they might try to claim that they are the ones who did it, but God knows the truth. He keeps the record books. He is the one who knows what you did, when you did it, how you did it, and he writes that down. He celebrates you and he esteems you. And so I'm just telling you, look at this person's life. Do not end your life. Do not take your life. Don't destroy your life. Don't let someone else snuff out your life breath, because they have come to steal something that you created. Steve Jobs then went on, started Pixar. After that, was a whole nother industry was birthed because of what the enemy meant for evil. He allowed God, I don't know what his walk with the Lord was or anything like that, but I see the principles of God at work. The laws of the Lord will work for the saved and the unsaved, the just and the unjust. As long as you are working, abiding by the laws that have been placed into the earth realm by the Lord, he is bound to uphold them. And so he did not allow what was intended for evil to stop him. Instead, he went to something new. After that was established, after you see that industry begin to grow, people are being employed, people are getting jobs. Then they call him back, and they want him to come back to Apple, which he does. And it goes in, and then you see all of these other, iPhone, the watches, the iPads, all of those other things just go to such a level where people didn't have them before, but now it's like, oh, I can't live without it. Okay, so I'm just saying that as an example. Wow, I just feel like God just wanted me really to say this to you, because I know during December, during holiday times, the enemy tries to bring all types of pressures and press down upon people to make them lose sight of possibility. And if one area ended and you poured so much into that area, I mean, you just like feel like I poured out my essence of myself into that place. And now they fire you, or the job, the company goes under, and you're like, wow, I didn't realize how much of my identity I felt was connected into that position. I just want to encourage you that your life is worth living. Your life is worth living. Please don't take your life. Please. I am crying out to you. Your life is worth living. And it will be a challenge, but there is help for you. There is hope. There is help, and there is hope. I'm going to say it again. There is help, and there is hope. Your life matters. Your life is important. Your life is important, and it matters. So for today's All Things New, it's so much better when we just allow God to talk to us and really give us clear assessments of where we are and his heart's desires for us. And he'll even tell you, even if that wasn't necessarily his plan, that you get eliminated from a job, get fired from a position. Many times the Lord has already told you, you can tell, it's like, ooh, yeah, I kind of feel that. I figured that was going to happen. So just be prepared. Continue to do your assessments. Look at where you are. Ask the Lord to show you, what can you delegate? Go back to the example that we talked about from the book of Acts. Consider Jesus when he was beginning to train up those who were to replace and step into the roles that he was vacating. And see, that's another example of elevation. Jesus was here in the earth for that time and season, walked with, taught, trained, mentored, nurtured, then delegated responsibilities, and he went to a higher position. He's our great high priest, seated on the right hand of the Father, whoever lives to make intercession on our behalf. He didn't stop. He has another position that's different. He's still connected to and was still part of the work that's being done, but he's going to another position. And that's what can happen to us, that when we delegate, as we put systems in place, and even as we say, you know what, this is a role that God is saying, I'm eliminating you from working on that position, on that role, that season is over. There's something else that God has for you. All right. Thank you so much. I pray that this has encouraged you and has hopefully spoken life to someone. So today in the chat, if this word, if this message, if this teaching, if this episode has blessed you, I want you to put in the chat box life, L-I-F-E, life. Okay, L-I-F-E. All right, God bless you. All things new. Happy December.